Prime Field.
Can you believe what UConn just did on the road? Because if you blinked, you missed the moment the number one team in the country turned a 9-8 game into a full-on statement to the entire nation. This is the second episode of Huskies Show Weekly Recap by Prime Field. And we've got one message coming out of Los Angeles. The defending champs aren't just winning, they're suffocating people. Let's get into it. Alright, start with the headline that mattered most this week. Number 1, UConn walked into Galen Center and dismantled number 16 USC, 79-51. And I'm telling you right now, this wasn't a solid road win. This was a clear-the-runway type of performance. USC came in riding a 20-game home-winning streak, and UConn snapped it like it was nothing. And the whole game flipped on one stretch, the stretch everybody's going to remember when we talk about this season later. UConn goes on a 24-2 first-half run. 24-2. That's not a run. That's a takeover. Think about how violent that swing is. You're down 9-8, and in a matter of minutes, you're basically telling a ranked team on their own floor, you're not in our class tonight. By halftime, USC had only 17 points. 17 on their own court. So what was the vibe of this win? Simple. It was control. It was dominance. It was UConn saying, in a week with a lighter national slate, you want the main event? Here. Now let's talk about the offensive side, because this is where it gets scary for everybody else. Azzi Fudd led the way with 17, and it wasn't just the points. It was what her shot-making did to USC's entire defensive plan. You know how teams want to load up, pack the paint, make UConn uncomfortable, and force someone to be a jump shooter under pressure? Good luck when Fudd is cooking and making you guard every inch of the floor. And here's the part that should have every contender sweating. It wasn't one star hijacking the night. UConn had 4 scores in double figures in a 28-point road win against a ranked defense. 4. So now the question becomes, who are you game planning for? Who are you sending extra help at? Because if you tilt too hard one way, somebody else is going to hurt you. And speaking of somebody else, let's move straight to because this is the part that changes UConn from favorite to problem. Sarah Strong, 14.7 boards. Ashlynn Shade, 15 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Combined, 29 points and 18 rebounds from on a ranked road stage against an athletic, high-level talent. That's not normal. These two looked like they belonged in it, and that matters for March. Because the most dangerous teams aren't just built on veterans. They're built on young players who don't get rattled when the lights hit. And here's the bigger signal. UConn isn't leaning on legend status. This isn't nostalgia. This is a roster of rising stars already producing in games that feel like tournament previews. Alright, moving from the starters to the part Geno coaches love the most. The part that decides titles' depth. Because UConn's bench showed up and it wasn't garbage minutes either. Blanca Quinones gave them 12 points and stretched the floor with her shooting. Jana El Alfie helps cap the third quarter with UConn's biggest lead and anchors that front court rotation. And what did it look like? It looked like UConn could sub without dropping intensity. And if you've watched the injury-riddled seasons of the past, you already know how different that is. Championship teams win with bench scoring. Championship teams can play 8 to 10 trusted pieces in a ranked road game and still defend like their lives depend on it. And that's exactly what this was. Rotation flexibility is a weapon. Foul trouble, fatigue, one's cold shooter. UConn doesn't have to panic. That's championship insurance. Now let's get to the real backbone of this week. So, defense. Because this was the defining story. UConn's half-court defense was suffocating. USC's freshman standout Jazzy Davidson gets held to 10 points on 3 for 13 shooting. And as a team, USC had just 7 first-half field goals. 7. And UConn didn't just guard. They controlled the glass and the paint, too. USC got only 3 offensive rebounds before halftime. That means UConn didn't just force misses, they finished possessions. And you know what that tells me? This team isn't trying to win shootouts. This team can win any type of game. If the threes aren't raining, fine. They'll lock you up. If it turns into a half-court grind, fine. They'll out-execute you. If it turns into a depth war, fine. They'll keep coming in waves. And that connects to what Geno's been signaling. Because his messaging around this game matters. He's framing this group as defense first, and when Auriemma starts talking like that, It's not random. He's tying this roster to the dynasty blueprint. Stops, discipline, identity. Champions are remembered for how they defend, and this week UConn defended like a team that plans on hanging another banner. Now let's add the modern layer. Because this game had transfer era drama written all over it. Kaylee Heckle's first trip back to the Galen Center since transferring from USC to UConn. That's not just a personal storyline. That's a symbol of what women's college basketball is now. The portal can reshape power dynamics overnight, and when UConn can pull a proven guard from a peer program, that's not just roster upgrading. That's program gravity. It's UConn saying, not only do we develop stars, we can recruit the present too. And while we're talking recruiting, let's keep it real. Winning like this is the pitch. UConn is 10-0, perfect in the Big East, stacking ranked wins, and doing it on national stages. If you're a 5-star watching that USC game, what are you thinking? You're thinking, this is where champs are built. Because they're not just unbeaten, they're emphatic. And emphatic wins are what separate the top dog from the pack. Now let's swing to what's next. Because this week wasn't the end of the story, it was the setup. First, Marquette comes to Hartford on December 17th, and that becomes an early Big East measuring stick. Both unbeaten in league play, real stakes, real tone-setter energy. In this conference, head-to-head games matter. For seeding, for tiebreakers, for the regular season crown. So here's the question. Can Marquette make it uncomfortable? Or does UConn turn another Big East night into a reminder of hierarchy? And then, the one everybody has circled in a red marker, Iowa at Barclays Center on December 20th. Neutral site, national stage, tournament-level implications. And you already know why it matters. Strength of schedule, selection committee value, the whole March seeding asset checklist. Before we wrap, I've got to hit the legacy angle because UConn had one of those weeks where the past and present collide. This road statement at USC comes just days after Sue Bird's jersey retirement game. And that's UConn in a nutshell. Honor the legends, then turn around and put the current team on a national stage and dominate. So here's the big takeaway from episode 2. UConn didn't just beat USC. UConn showed the country a complete blueprint. Suffocating defense, balanced scoring, freshmen producing like veterans, bench depth that doesn't blink. Now I'm throwing it to you. What's the bigger test for this team? The Marquette Big East gut check on December 17th, or the Iowa neutral site spotlight game at Barclays on December 20th? And if you're Geno, what's the one thing you want cleaned up before Iowa? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want episode 3 right after that Marquette game, you already know what to do. Subscribe to Prime Field, and we'll see you next week.
Prime Field.